Drivers, have you heard this exciting news? Uber's introducing cash deliveries. And I'll tell you what, I can only think of one real benefit from that and many more problems. And no, these aren't cash deliveries like money laundering or other things like that. It's accepting cash from the customer so that they can pay for their order using cash and give it to you, the driver. And let's go through what they say on their website. And we're going to go over some practical applications. And then I'm going to get into the real driver safety issues. And then finally wrap it up with how to change your settings and what you can do to prepare yourself for this great opportunity. What could go wrong? All right, so in the website, and I'll put the link in the description, you can see right here, it says introducing cash deliveries. Wow, it's allowing customers to pay for their order upon delivery. We're going to be receiving cash, making change, and getting our earnings even faster. Wow, thanks, Uber. We're going to get our earnings faster because we're going to get paid in cash. I'll bet there's more to the story. So going down a little bit more, you can see it'll have an icon if it's a cash delivery. And then it says track your cash earnings. And it says after each trip, you're going to see exactly how much cash you can keep. Interesting. Money owed to Uber and the restaurant will be deducted from your digital earnings. Anything additional will need to be returned to Uber. And I imagine they probably have a process for that. So continuing on, settling your cash balance. If you collect more than you earn, your balance will become negative. Good news. They're going to send a push notification to clear your negative balance. I wonder how that's going to take place. And you can make a payment in the app. And then, wow, a pro tip. Thanks, Uber. Thanks for the pro tip here. Have change on hand. While we do encourage customers to pay the exact amount, in some cases you're going to be asked to provide change. And I'm sure you're going to do your part to make sure it all goes smoothly. So, just examining what they told us, what possibly could go wrong. Let's start off first with the one and only positive that I can see from this. It's going to be so much harder for the customer to say, I didn't get my food. Well, then how did you pay cash for it? That's about it. Here's a first real practical consideration. We already get base pay plus customers tip. So is UberEats going to make the conscious choice to pay us for our time? That does involve time, having change, counting it out. Are we going to get paid for that? Or is that something as an independent contractor, because of the flexibility of working when and how we want, that we'll go ahead and absorb that cost? What do you think? The second practical consideration, when you go in a restaurant or a store and you give a 20, a 50, the cashier sets it on the table and then they make change. Why do they do this? Because the customer could say, hey, I gave you a 50, and the cashier would say, no, it was a 20. Who's going to lose in that situation? So as a driver, we're carrying the food. We're going to have what? A backpack, some kind of a container with our change. Are we going to have a portable table that we set up right there wherever we stop to count out change? How accurate do you think we're going to be? And if it's windy outside or raining, what if the wind blows our changeover? Or what if we spill something? And of course, what if the customer accuses us of not giving the proper change? What if they call UberEats and say, the driver didn't give me my change? What proof are you going to have? Obviously, I think this is going to be a huge consideration for drivers to consider. The third practical consideration. Do you know that restaurants and businesses do receive counterfeit bills? Who bears the cost of that? The business does. So as a driver, are you trained in what's a counterfeit bill? Do you handle cash enough that you can just go by feel or look at something's not right? And I would imagine that all the restaurants and businesses, they're trained in finding counterfeit bills, but I'll bet many of them still slip through. So who's going to bear the brunt of that? Is UberEats going to reimburse you for some counterfeit bills? I don't think so. I think you just got paid faster with fake bills. So that is something to consider. The fourth practical consideration, Uber Eats pays us money. What do you think they're going to do if you've been out working a lot and you've been doing many of these cash deliveries? What if you owe Uber Eats hundreds of dollars? Do you keep hundreds of extra dollars in your checking account that you can go ahead and pay Uber on demand when they send you that push app notification saying you owe them money? I think that's going to be a serious problem. And what if we're not timely enough in giving Uber their money because they probably have to pay the restaurant? Are they just going to take it or try to take it from us? So I think you can see, what if we have non-sufficient funds and then our bank starts charging us fees because we're willfully allowing a charge to come through that we don't have the money for? Do you trust that Uber Eats is going to look out for drivers in all circumstances like this? I don't think so. Please share in the comments below. How many interactions have you had with customer service involving money? Something didn't go right and you should be paid for it. How often did you actually get money for that? Or did the customer service rep just send you a bunch of AI bot messages to get you off the phone and get you back on the road delivering with no pay? Clearly, there's more to the story by introducing these cash deliveries. Yeah, maybe we're going to get paid faster, but there's far more risks than there are benefits. And that leads into perfectly from the beginning, when Uber was primarily doing rideshare, what did they tell us? What did they entice us with? No cash. The riders just pay online in the app. And all we do as drivers is just drive the passenger. And then later on, doing food delivery. We don't handle cash. Why is this such an important deal? That makes everybody feel safer. I know that really helped me when several years ago, I started getting into the gig economy and I started off with Uber doing rideshare and food delivery. And at first I was really intimidated because I thought, well, I'm not a taxi driver. But then when I found out, oh, there's no cash involved, okay, it's actually pretty easy and relatively safe from what I knew back then. So now this is yet another example of Dara and the other leadership team at Uber betraying drivers. They're risking driver safety for just another opportunity to get a cut, to get more money, to get whatever it takes for customers to place orders. Now we'll take your cash. So shame on you, Uber and Uber Eats, for doing this. So this ties right into, what did rideshare try to replace or give an option for? Taxi drivers. Have you been in a taxi? Do you know that barrier that they have that separates the driver from the passengers? Why would that be necessary? Could it be because any rider, any criminal would know that the taxi driver has a ton of cash in the car? And what a perfect place to get robbed, sitting right there in the back seat, driver's defenseless. Now Uber has put drivers in this position as well, because if they're going to accept cash for deliveries, now we are a target for all criminals. Before, everybody knows that the Uber drivers, they don't have cash. They don't carry money like that because it's not part of the business. But now, opening it up to where there's potential for it, sure, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. Maybe I don't accept cash. Maybe I turn that off. But how does a criminal know how many other drivers have turned that off in their app? So this is a huge safety issue. Basically, all Uber Eats drivers, regardless whether we accept the cash or not, we are now targets for criminals because we might have cash as part of our business. That is terrible. I hope that you see the importance for this. And if anybody at Uber Eats and Uber should be watching this, don't you care about your drivers? I already know you don't for many other reasons, but driver safety is such an important thing. If we don't feel safe as drivers, who's going to take these food delivery orders? Who's going to drive the passenger? So as drivers, whether they're testing this or Uber actually implements it, what can you do to keep yourself safe? Because now we are targets for every criminal because we might have cash. No one knows. And even doing rideshare, look at all the stories in the news about drivers getting stabbed, shot, carjacked, and even food delivery drivers. We're not immune from crazy violence and terrible things that happen out there, not only to rideshare drivers. We're interfacing with the public. We're delivering packages, groceries, food to perfect strangers. Sometimes it's to their houses, their businesses. Sometimes it's just out in a parking lot. Anything can happen. So shame on you, Uber Eats, for trying to do something to earn more money. However it takes to get more customers. If they don't have credit card, we'll take your cash. And actually, we don't even care about our drivers because their safety is not important to us. So for all drivers, what can we do about this? Because it's too late, whether Uber Eats is just testing this or if they're going to roll this out to the whole company. What can we do? Obviously, carry protection. Now more than ever, you need to carry protection. And when I say protection, I'll leave that up to you to figure out what you think you need to be protected and then do that. So other than carrying protection, just being aware of your surroundings, that if something doesn't feel right, get out of there. That's really all we can do. And anything else is really just getting beyond the scope of this video. The other thing you can do is turn off the setting for cash deliveries. When I first saw this, it was in my app because I was looking up to help another viewer about a shop and pay item. And let's go there now. Let's turn it off. I do want to say by default, cash deliveries was on. I manually had to turn it off. So you go into your, and under there, so again, Uber Eats, please stop this test. Don't do that to your drivers. We're earning your paychecks. Don't jeopardize our safety for your greed. And for fellow drivers out there, whether you have a lot of experience or not much at all, please be careful. You cannot trust Uber Eats. Over time, they're going to continually disappoint you. And this recent cash delivery ploy, that's just another example of it. So pay close attention. Anytime that Uber Eats is communicating with you, it's usually not for your benefit. So for all drivers, whether you have a lot of experience or just a little bit, in time, you're going to see that you really can't trust Uber Eats. They do not and seldom have the best interest of the driver ahead of themselves. Earlier, I mentioned the scary things, and there are quite a few scary, horrible things that can happen to drivers. So I'm going to recommend 2 videos to you. I made a video talking about Carlton Bryant, who was stabbed, and I'm pretty sure to this day, nothing positive has come from that. So I'll link that for your consideration. And then also for primarily rideshare drivers, don't get involved in human trafficking. I've made a video showing how Uber Eats and Lyft really don't care about this. And as drivers, you're at risk, and I would want nothing to do with any form of human trafficking. Even if you know about it or not, you're still liable. So watch that video next, and I know it's not a positive, uplifting video, but watch that next, and I'll see you there.